Hey, how you doing? Steve Noble Moto here. We're got our 22 Lowrider ST up on the lift, and today we're going to do a 3-hole oil change. We're going to do this oil change with the Amsoil Oil Change Kit. Mark Young of Clovis Lubricants reached out and he wanted me to try out some Amsoil products. So we're going to try it out. Amsoil has been in business forever. They're like the OGs of the industry. I think they were even the ones that came up with synthetic lubricants. So you know their stuff's probably pretty awesome. But the really cool thing is you get like a complete kit with them. So there's no debates of whether or not you got the right stuff. You get 5 quarts of 2050 oil. You get a disposable filter, which is great because if you're like me, you probably can't find your old filter. And then when you do find it, it's full of cobwebs and debris. That sucks. You get rubber gloves if you don't like getting oil on your hands. No judgment. Maybe a little. And you also get an Amsoil oil filter that's designed for your bike. It's the right microns, the right flow, and all that jazz. And most importantly, with the Amsoil oil filter, you get a new O-ring for your drain plug. Hooray, hooray! Why is that not the industry standard? No one else thought very far ahead. Luckily, Amsoil did. In addition to this 5 quarts of engine oil, because the 117 takes 5 quarts, you also get Amsoil primary fluid, 1 quart of synthetic, and Amsoil synthetic transmission fluid. So there's no more arguing with weirdos on the internet about which weight is the appropriate one. Amsoil has it already set up for you. So just put it in and ride. And most importantly of all, with the Amsoil Oil Change Kit, we get a sticker. You can do this task. I believe in you. So from here, let's move underneath the bike for a closer look. The first step of the oil change process is going to be to remove the drain plug. Have your 5/8 ratchet set to lefty-loosey and just break that free. Now what we're going to do is we're going to back this out almost all the way. Then we're going to get our drain pan in place. And pull the drain plug out, and out comes the oil. Now if it comes out slow, the easiest thing you can do is open your fill cap. I'll let some air flow through there, and it should drain out faster. So here I have the drain plug up on the bench. You can see right here there is some kind of mesh or dirt and crud and stuff around this. Let me get my pointer. Around this centerpiece. That centerpiece there is a magnet. You can see I can kind of scoop it up off of there. So that is collecting up any metal shavings that have happened inside the engine. There's not a whole lot. There shouldn't be a whole lot. If it's a wee little fuzzy, don't worry about it. If it looks like growing mold spores, you might want to be a little more concerned. Now that that's off of there, now we can take our old O-ring off. You should be able to get underneath this with a small flathead screwdriver or pick or something and flick that off of there. While you're here, clean the crud out of your drain plug threads. There might be some thread sealant or something like that in there, metal shavings, crud, road grime, all kinds of nastiness. We'll get that out of there. And once that is good and clean, we can then take our Amsoil oil filter kit here, or oil filter packaging. Then we can roll the O-ring down over the drain plug, just like so. Roll it all the way down until it sits in that little groove, and now your drain plug is ready for reinstallation. So while the engine oil is draining, we're going to drain the primary case. This again takes a 5/8 ratchet, or socket, or wrench. Break that free. Now remember, before you take that out, you're going to want to have a drain plug or drain pan underneath this. So I'm going to move it over here and try and get it in place where it's still catching the last little bit of oil drain out of the engine, And now it's going to catch the primary fluid as well. You could do these as separate tasks. It would be okay. I'm just doing them as one. Now, we're draining the primary oil out of this thing. So we're going to clean the primary drain plug off in the same fashion we did with the oil pan drain plug. And make sure the magnet's good and clean. And then, of course, replace the O-ring. If you need to buy any spare O-rings, I put a link in the bio to where you can get one, or at least to the OEM size. And then you can find one online at your parts supplier of choice. Now, while the oil's draining, we're going to get ready to refill things. So first things first, we're going to take the clutch or derby cover off of this thing. This takes a T25 Torx bit. So I already went around and broke all these free. And we can just pop that sucker right off of there. Now we're going to reinstall our drain plug with our new O-ring. You want to be careful when you do this. You don't cross thread anything. It's fine threaded and it's aluminum, so start it in there with a light touch. It should thread in almost all the way with just your fingertips. If it's binding up, take it out and inspect. Something's wrong. And tighten it up into place and torque it to spec. Now we can take our 1 quart of oil and just pour the 1 quart in there nice and slow. Whoop. Accidentally pinched the bottom of the oil funnel shut. Nice having a new disposable oil funnel. Now we can reinstall the clutch cover, clutch/derby cover. Make sure your O-ring here is clean and in good shape, which this one is. Make sure the inside of your clutch and derby cover is in good shape. You should be able to put that up in there and set it right into place. Now you want to make sure you start all these screws in before you tighten any of them down. Then when you do tighten them down, you want to go in a crisscross pattern. Think star-shaped. Otherwise, if you just tighten one down, this thing could go crooked, and then it won't properly seal. Just take your T25 Torx bit, and spin that down in there. Now we can reinstall our drain plug. And just thread that in there. Should take a very light touch to thread that in there, just fingertips. If you have to force it, something's wrong. Take it off and check it out. And once it's up in there, you can tighten it up and torque it to spec. To remove your oil filter, there's an assortment of oil filter grabbing tools, and any one of those will work. Or, if you've got a strong grip, you can just reach in there and grab with your hand and lefty-loosey it off of there. You might get some oil draining out of there. That's okay. It won't go too far. I have the catch pan underneath the engine, so anything that drains off of there will just run down the front of the engine case into the catch pan. Now we've got our Amsoil new filter here. In case you're wondering, for the 22 Lowrider ST with the 117, the Amsoil oil filter number is EAOM134. We can open up the box there and take our oil filter out. There it is, our new oil filter. Clean, right to the point, nothing fantastic about it. Just nice, black, sleek oil filter. So a lot of times the question comes up of how tight do I make my oil filter? On either the side of your oil filter or on the side of the packaging, it will have instructions. Those instructions are going to look something like this. What they're telling you is put some oil in there, which only works if the oil filter is vertical. You want to put some oil on the seal here. So we're going to take some new clean oil and we're going to put it on that seal. And that's going to help keep that seal from baking to the engine case. Then it will be easier to come free next time and it won't leave any residual oil seal or rubber or anything on there. And the surface will be nice and clean for the next oil filter. And it'll come off a lot easier. And then the last thing on here, when they tell you to tighten it up, you'll see a little sign there that says like +3/4 or +1, depending on the oil filter. What they're saying is, from the point this seal makes contact with the engine case, you're going to turn it, in this case, 3/4 more of a turn. And that will be your proper torque. So we've got some clean oil off screen here. So we're going to take some clean oil there. Put up on the seal. Then we're going to stick our oil filter in there. Be careful not to cross thread it. And spin it on there. Now, it's hard to see down in there to know when the seal actually makes contact, but with a really light touch, you'll feel that initial drag of when the seal begins to rub against the engine case. So from there, we can go, I'm using the writing for reference, we can go 3/4 of a turn more. That's all you need to do. That's the proper torque spec for your oil filter. You don't need to crank the snot out of the thing. Just make sure it's tight enough that it doesn't come off. So the drain plug is right here. I don't know if you can see that or not. Here's your oil pan. Here's an air compressor for air shock. This is my exhaust here. This is the right side frame rail. So this takes a 5/8 socket. You can just spin it right off of there. I can tell you now, the downside of this is you don't have a lot of room once you get it out of there. You don't have a lot of room to get the drain plug out of the way with the oil pan there. But it can be done. Just like that. I don't know if you can see it or not. Get right to the edge. But you can see right there, the oil is draining out. So we're going to let that 1 quart drain on out of there. We're going to change our drain plug O-ring. And then refill our transmission. Okay, once the oil is done draining on out of there, you can slide your drain plug up into place there. Remember, nice light touch. Should spin in with just 2 fingertips. Shouldn't take much more force than that. Then from there, you can torque your drain plug down. You're going to torque this to 14 to 21 foot-pounds. Just like that. Now we're ready to put the oil in. To fill the transmission oil, we have to take this side cover off of here. So this is going to take a 5/32 Allen wrench. We're going to spin those 2 screws right on out of there. Should be able to grab this cover, pop the little rubber grommet off there in the front. Set that in a safe location. You can take your little plastic piece here and lift it up out of there. Then right there is the oil fill and drain plug. So what we're going to do is first we're going to wipe this clean because we don't want any of this road gunk that's up in here to get down into the transmission. So we're going to wipe that clean. Then we're going to take a 3/8 Allen wrench. And it is a tight fit into that socket. So make sure it's down in there all the way. And break it free. Then from there, you should be able to take the ball end of your Allen wrench, if you've got a ball end Allen wrench, and spin it right on up out of there. There, we can take the dipstick right on up out of there. Then we can take our 1 quart, and we can put our disposable funnel down in there. Whoop, just like that. Take our 1 quart of Amsoil synthetic transmission fluid that you can purchase from Clovis Lubricants, link in bio, and pour that down in there. Once that's on out of there, you can dispose of your oil funnel in the proper location. Now you can take your clean dipstick, reinsert it down in there. Thread it all the way down in there until it stops. Back it on out and you can check the oil. Looks good. Sitting just right at the upper full mark right there. We are good to go. Just run this in until it's snug. It doesn't have to be very tight. Just enough that the flesh on your fingers squeezes a little bit. And from there, you can take your little weird plastic cover, pop that back into place. Harley really phoned that one in there, didn't they? And you can take your side cover, pop the rubber grommet on first. And reinstall the 2 cover screws. Next, you can fill up your engine oil. Now the service manual will tell you to put 4 quarts in this bike, then start up, let it run for a few seconds, turn it off and check it, which is factual. However, I'm quite a couple oil changes into this bike, so I know it takes 5 quarts. And from there, reinstall your dipstick, start your bike up, let it run for 30 seconds or so, turn it back off, check your oil, and if everything's at the appropriate level, you're ready to go ride. That's all I have for you today. If you want to get any Amsoil products, go to Clovis Lubricants. There's a link in the bio.